Welcome back to the deep dive. If you are currently staring down an AP history exam, that's, APUS, World or European History, you know exactly where the pressure hits hardest.
Oh, yeah.
It's in that multiple choice section.
It's the gatekeepers, absolutely. You're facing 55 questions in 55 minutes, and that section alone is weighted at punishing 40% of your total exam score.
Exactly.
It's not just a test of what you know. It's a high-stakes balancing act between reading, historical content, and just pure raw speed.
Exactly. And the anxiety, it usually comes from feeling like you just don't know enough facts.
Right.
But here's the mission for this deep dive. We're not going to give you more content to memorize. Our goal is to give you an optimized, repeatable, structural method.
A set of insider secrets, really.
Yes, to tackle that section. We want to significantly boost your accuracy and, maybe most importantly, your confidence when that clock starts ticking.
We pulled together the best secrets from top AP instructors across the country, and they all confirm one thing. Consistency in the method you apply beats brilliance in memory.
Especially under pressure.
Especially under pressure. This is all about working smarter, not harder.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start by stopping the panic and giving ourselves a non-negotiable order of operations for these stimulus-based questions. The sources we reviewed, they all stress that the College Board has designed these questions specifically to punish passive reading.
Yeah.
They almost want you to stumble.
They absolutely do. Your passive instinct, the habit you formed since middle school, is to read that big, juicy block of text, the stimulus first.
Right.
You absorb the document and then you look at the question. That is the wrong way to start. It's the single greatest time waster on the exam.
Wait, hold on. Why is looking at the document first the wrong way to start? I feel like I need the context before I even know what I'm looking for.
You feel like you do, but that passive reading just wastes precious seconds. You read the whole document, form some general impression, and then you read the question and realize it only asked about the effect of that document.
Not its content.
Not its internal content. So you have to go back and reread it through a different lens. Our 4-step sequence is designed for pure efficiency. It sets your analytical lens immediately.
So we flip the script. What is the correct College Board-aligned reading order?
Step 1, read the question first. This is mandatory. You are not looking for the answer yet. You are just identifying the task.
The task.
Are they asking you for the cause of the events described, the context leading up to it, the author's perspective or, their bias? Identifying that single action word sets your brain up to filter everything that follows.
Got it. Identify the mission first.
Yeah.
Now, step 2. This is the piece that the experts call the cheat code.
That's right.
We skip the stimulus and go straight to the small print.
Exactly. Step 2, read the attribution next. This is that little academic footnote at the bottom that tells you who wrote it, when, and their group affiliation. So many students just skip this because it looks like boilerplate text.
But it's not.
It's the most valuable piece of context you get.
So why is that little line of text the cheat code?
Because you need to extract 3 things immediately: time period, author group, and perspective bias. Just knowing the time period alone often eliminates half the answer choices instantly.
Wow.
If the attribution says, speech by a 1920s progressive era reformer, you can instantly eliminate anything about the Mexican-American War in the 1840s or the new conservatism of the 1980s.
So you've narrowed the field dramatically before you even spend a second on the primary source.
You've narrowed it dramatically. It's a context check before you absorb the content. You are using your outside knowledge to screen the stimulus itself.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
And only after those first 2 steps, question then attribution, do you move to step 3. Read the stimulus, and only if needed.
Only if needed. That's the key efficiency gain, isn't it?
It is. Read the document fully only if the question asks about the author's specific argument, their tone, or evidence from the passage. But if the question asks about the broader context, like, what was happening in the world when this was written?
Or a cause or effect outside the document.
Right. Then quick skimming for the overall gist is often enough. Don't get bogged down in a complex 18th century quote if the question is simply asking about the legacy of the Enlightenment.
And finally, step 4. Translate to plain English.
Before you even look at A, B, C, or D, you have to internalize the question. Ask yourself, what is this really asking me to do?
Okay.
If the question says, which of the following best explains the continuity of labor practices during the early 19th century, you should translate that to, what stayed the same about jobs between 1800 and 1850?
Right. Simple language.
This simple translation prevents you from falling for tricky academic wording or keyword traps in the multiple choice answers.
That entire question attribution stimulus process forces you into active reading. And we should reiterate tip 1 here. You must be marking up everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Circle those action words. Circle the time periods from the attribution. Star any questions that feel like they might take you longer than a minute. You need a system.
A consistent, repeatable system. If you aren't leaving marks on the page, you aren't analyzing actively enough.
Okay, so once we master that reading order, which saves crucial seconds, we have to talk about the clock. Because even with the perfect strategy, 55 questions in 55 minutes is just brutal.
It is intensely challenging. That 1 minute per question disappears instantly, especially if you have a complex document. Our sources recommend setting a much more aggressive pacing goal.
Which is?
You should be aiming for 45 to 50 seconds per question.
45 seconds. That feels nearly impossible for a long, dense paragraph. Why push for that extra 10 or 15 seconds of padding?
That cushion time is essential for 2 reasons. First, it lets you absorb one particularly dense passage without panicking. Second, it gives you time to review the questions you flagged earlier.
And you manage this by grouping.
You manage it by grouping. Remember, the questions come in groups attached to a single stimulus, usually between 2 and 4 questions.
So if a stimulus has 3 questions, I should allocate 3 minutes total to that entire group. That's reading the stimulus and answering all 3.
Precisely. That averages out to your target pace. You manage the time by managing the groups. But what happens when you hit a wall? You applied the method, you check the attribution, and you're 65 seconds in and completely stumped.
Then you implement the skipping strategy immediately, right?
Without hesitation, every single question is weighted exactly the same. It is a massive error to get bogged down spending 3 minutes on one question when you could have used that time to confidently answer 3 easier ones later.
So you skip it, mark it with your system, maybe a huge circle or a flag, and guarantee you get to the end of the test.
You can always return if time allows.
Now, we need a special caveat here for digital testing. We know some testing options prevent you from returning to previous questions.
And if you're in that situation where you cannot return, the pressure ramps up significantly. The stipping strategy is off the table.
So what do you do?
You have to use every single second of that allotted minute to be confident in your initial answer, because there is no second chance. In that scenario, aggressive elimination is the only strategy that works.
And that brings us back to conditioning. Speed is a separate skill from content knowledge.
It really is.
You can know the facts cold, but if you haven't trained your brain to work this fast, the clock will win.
Absolutely. We call it rapid document review. You need to practice this skill apart from taking full tests. Try this exercise. Pull up an excerpt, put a timer on for 30 seconds.
Just 30 seconds.
Read it, take the document away, and force yourself to summarize the main argument, the context, and the author's bias in one single sentence. Do this over and over. You are training your mind to extract high-value information under extreme time pressure.
That practice builds the mental stamina required for the full 55-minute grind. Okay, let's get into the most crucial part. Maximizing efficiency by outsmarting the test maker.
Yes.
Let's talk about Section 3, dissecting the College Board's formula for answer choices.
This is where we learn to use the test structure against them. They are predictable. They follow a pattern, which we call the 2-1-1 rule.
The 2-1 rule.
4 options consist of 2 obviously wrong answers, 1 highly attractive distractor, and 1 correct answer.
So my first job isn't to find the right answer. It's to eliminate the 2 that are obviously wrong.
That is the highest value skill you can possibly learn. Eliminate aggressively. If you can eliminate just 2 choices, you instantly jump from a 25% guess to a 50-50 shot.
So you're not searching for the perfect answer.
No, you are searching for the least wrong one by finding the 2 answers that just fail the historical test.
And how do we spot those 2 obviously wrong answers?
Mm-hmm.
The sources give us 2 main reasons why they're incorrect, even if the facts within them might technically be true statements.
The first is the out-of-era trap. This is a statement that is historically true, but the event is outside the time period of the prompt or the stimulus.
Give us an analogy.
Think of it like a time machine trap. If the question asks for a major political effect of 19th century industrialization, and one of the answers is the creation of the United Nations in 1945.
It's a true fact.
It's a true fact, but that event is way too far removed chronologically to be the correct answer. It's like answering a question about the Roman Empire using data from the Renaissance. It's simply in the wrong century.
That's a huge clue for immediate elimination. What's the second main trap?
The second is the historical thinking skill mismatch. Think of it this way. If the question asks for a screwdriver, you can't give them a hammer.
even if it's a historically accurate hammer.
Exactly. You have to match the tool to the task.
So, if the question asks for the cause of the Spanish-American War, but the answer provided is the annexation of the Philippines.
That answer is a mismatch. The annexation was an effect of the war. You have to match the action word of the question cause, effect, continuity, change, comparison to the function of the answer choice.
So if the question is about change, an answer describing continuity is instantly wrong.
Instantly wrong, even if the facts in it are technically correct.
So once you've done that good work and eliminated the two obvious non-starters, you are usually left staring down that highly attractive distractor.
And this is the real challenge.
Right.
The distractor is the one option designed to catch the student who only kind of knows it. It is often factually correct as a standalone statement, but it fails to answer the specific prompt.
Because it's irrelevant or addresses a different part of the narrative.
Exactly. This is where that attention to detail, the difference between knowing a fact and knowing its context, becomes critical. Let's use that specific abolition example we found.
Okay.
A question might ask for the earliest evidence supporting the claim that the U.S. government abolished slavery in national territory. The correct answer is the Northwest Ordinance of 1787.
Because it directly addressed slavery in the territories.
Yeah.
And the classic distractor.
The ban on the international slave trade in 1808. That event is factually true. Congress did ban the international slave trade then, but it is a distractor because it did not ban slavery in the territories. The student who vaguely recalls 1808 and slavery ban will jump on it thinking they found the correct historical fact, but it doesn't match the prompt's specific condition.
That truly highlights why using that QAS method first is so vital, because it prepares you for this level of nuance. Okay, moving on to our final section. Advanced tactical tips and the mindset you need for test day.
Let's talk about context clues. History is a massive puzzle, and sometimes you don't know the exact date of one specific piece.
That's when we use the puzzle piece strategy.
Exactly. Place the unknown event between two known dates or historical concepts. If you see a question about the Gettysburg Address, you might not remember the exact day.
But you know the Civil War.
You instantly connect it to the broader context of the Civil War, states' rights, abolitionism. Using those broader connections helps you instantly eliminate answer choices that are too early or too late.
And tip 4 is key for efficiency, particularly when working in those grouped questions.
Yes. Use clues from earlier questions to help answer later ones. Treat the entire section as a connected narrative. If question 3 covers the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and then question 5 asks about American culture in the mid-60s.
Question 3 just gave you a massive piece of free context.
The test makers build the context as you go.
Now for the traps, the things to avoid, particularly in the language of the answers. We have to be wary of extreme language.
Yes. History is messy, it's complex. If an answer choice features absolute words like always, never, or completely ended, you should be immediately suspicious.
Those words rarely apply.
They rarely apply to historical trends. Look for nuanced language like contributed to, resulted in, or was influenced by.
We also need to talk about the familiar name trap.
Right. Don't pick an answer just because it features a famous name like Thomas Jefferson or George Washington. That fact has to directly connect to the prompt and the stimulus.
Just because it's a famous person doesn't make the fact relevant.
Not at all. And a crucial reminder on using outside knowledge strategically.
Right.
Use your outside knowledge only to confirm context and era accuracy, like we discussed with the attribution step. Do not use it to overrule the source material or bring in unrelated facts just because they feel familiar.
So if you need a ton of outside info to justify an answer,
chances are that answer is wrong. The best answer usually needs minimal extra knowledge beyond what the stimulus and prompt provide.
And to tie this all together, we must practice. You cannot implement the QAS method at 45 seconds per question without rehearsal.
Practice using reliable resources and full-length practice exams is the only way to internalize the logic and get comfortable with the duration. And we recommend refining your study by blocking 30 minutes every day, Monday through Friday, for rapid-fire review.
With flashcards?
Using flashcards for key concepts, people, events. Consistent, short burst review dramatically reduces the amount of time you need in that final pressure cooker before the exam.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's lock in the test day mantra.
It's the sequence. Question, attribution, stimulus if needed. Eliminate, choose. If you commit to that order, you are forcing the College Board's logic to work against itself, and your accuracy will naturally improve.
And let's address the final mindset piece. Don't leave blanks.
This is so critical. There is no penalty for wrong answers, only points scored for correct answers. If you've eliminated even 2 answers, you have a 50% chance of success. Take an educated guess.
It's always better than a blank.
Always. A blank guarantees 0 points. Also, trust your first instinct unless you are absolutely 100% sure the first choice was wrong. Students frequently switch from right to wrong when they overthink that distractor.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. And this is the provocative thought to carry with you right into the exam room. Success doesn't require perfection.
No, it doesn't. Historically, if you score around, say, 72% to 75% correct on the multiple choice section, you are typically set up for a final score of 5 on the overall exam.
Assuming you do okay on the essays.
Assuming you perform adequately on the essays, yes.
Think about that percentage. 75% correct on 55 questions means you can miss 14 or even 15 questions and still be overwhelmingly successful.
You are not chasing 100%.
You are chasing 75%. Give yourself permission to fail 14 times because the process, the method, the consistency, the elimination is what gets you the top score, not perfection in memorizing every single detail.
Focus on controlling the clock and mastering the method, and the points will absolutely follow.
That was the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.